Esther stood at the entrance of the royal throne room, her heart pounding. The golden doors loomed before her, sealing the fate of anyone who dared enter uninvited. A single thought raced through her mind. If the king does not extend his scepter, I will die. Yet behind her, the fate of an entire nation rested on her shoulders. If she did nothing, every Jew in Persia, including her beloved cousin Mordecai, would be slaughtered. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. Esther had never expected to be queen. She had been just an orphaned Jewish girl raised by her cousin Mordecai in the city of Susa. Life had been simple, predictable, until the day she was taken to the king's palace. Chosen for her beauty, Esther found herself thrust into a world of luxury, rules, and hidden dangers. King Xerxes, ruler of the mighty Persian Empire, was a man of power and unpredictable moods, and Haman, his highest official, despised the Jewish people and had just set a plan in motion to have them all destroyed. Now Esther was in the impossible position of being the only one who could stop the massacre. But there was one problem. Approaching the king without being summoned was punishable by death. The palace halls were eerily silent as Esther made her way toward the throne room. Servants averted their gazes, afraid to be caught in her defiance. The golden pillars towered over her, the marble floors cool beneath her trembling feet. Guards flanked the entrance, their hands resting on their swords. They gave her a sharp look. She had no summons. They knew the law. Beyond the doors, King Xerxes sat on his throne, surrounded by nobles and advisors. The air inside was heavy with incense and the murmurs of courtiers. Esther's stomach twisted. This was no ordinary gathering. The king was conducting official matters of state. Interrupting him now would be an act of reckless defiance. Fear clung to her like a heavy cloak. What if he is in a bad mood today? What if he refuses to see me? She thought of Queen Vashti, the woman she had replaced. Vashti had been banished for refusing the king's summons. If he could discard a queen so easily, what chance did she have? Her breath quickened. Every rational thought screamed at her to turn back. But then, she heard Mordecai's words echo in her heart. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? For such a time as this. She clenched her fists. I am not here by accident. I am here because God placed me here. If she perished, so be it. She stepped forward. The guards stiffened as she approached the doors. For a moment they hesitated, perhaps shocked by her audacity. Then, without a word, they pushed open the heavy doors. A rush of golden light flooded over her as she stepped inside. Conversations halted. All eyes turned to her. And then the king saw her. Silence. The throne room tensed. Every noble and official held their breath. The law was clear. If the king did not extend his golden scepter, she would be executed on the spot. Esther's knees nearly buckled. The weight of the moment pressed down on her like a crushing wave. Would this be her last breath? The air was thick with the scent of myrrh and cedar. The golden columns rose like towering sentinels watching as time seemed to freeze. The silk tapestries swayed slightly from the faintest breeze, but no one moved. Xerxes sat at the center of it all, draped in royal robes, his golden crown gleaming under the flickering torchlight. His dark eyes locked onto hers. The tension was unbearable. A single twitch of his fingers, a single glance, and she would be dragged away. Esther could hear the quickened breathing of the nobles around her. She could see the way the guards tightened their grips on their weapons. The entire court waited for his judgment. Would the king show mercy? Xerxes leaned forward. His gaze flickered, curious, perhaps even amused. Then he raised his hand. The golden scepter, the symbol of his favor, tilted toward her. A collective gasp swept through the court. The tension shattered. Esther let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She stepped forward, reaching out with trembling fingers to touch the scepter. She was spared. The king spoke at last. "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request?" Even up to half the kingdom it will be given to you." Her heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "If it pleases the king," she said, "may the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared for him." The king raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Then he smiled. "Bring Haman at once," he commanded. Esther had won the first battle. Esther's story is a reminder that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act in spite of it. She didn't know how the king would respond. She had no guarantee of success. But she stepped forward in faith, trusting that God had placed her in that moment for a reason. Often, we find ourselves in situations where we feel unqualified, afraid, or unsure of the outcome. But like Esther, we must remember, we are not here by accident. God places us where we need to be for such a time as this. As Esther stepped back from the throne, the whispers of the court resumed. Some were astonished, others were wary. But Esther, she lifted her chin slightly. The battle was far from over, but for the first time she truly believed God was with her, and nothing was impossible.